Hello everyone, welcome to Sherry's Painting. I hope you will join me in today's painting. It is Apple Offering. And so I'm just starting out with an 8x10 canvas and a 1/2 inch flat brush, and I'm just applying black to the canvas and along the edges as well. I apologize, my canvas is moving around a bit. I have had a wrist injury on my left hand, so I'm not really able to hold it as steady as I would like. But so cover the canvas as much as you can. Don't work too much in one area because the paint will lift off the canvas. So continue giving this canvas a full covering with the black, and they're just Dollarama paints that I'm using. And then we're going to go on to the next step. So for this step, everybody, once your canvas is completely dry, you can use a hair dryer to do that. I'm not going to put a second coat on this one because what we're doing here is I have poured some hunter green and some lime green and a little bit of white out onto my palette there. And you're using a completely dry brush for this step. And what you're doing is you're putting just a tiny bit of paint on the end of the brush, and then you're just going to dry brush it into the canvas, and it's going to look it's going to give it a blurry effect in the background. So switch up between the hunter green, the lime green, and then add a little bit of white just for a little bit of contrast in with either of the greens as well. I also do use both of them together. And just spread that around. I want the left side of the canvas to be a little lighter than the right side. And then after we are done with this step, you're just going to put it around sporadically. You really can't make a mistake on this at all. And, you have to rub fairly quickly and fairly hard, but don't stay in one area too long again, or you're going to lift off the paint off the canvas. So just sporadically go around the canvas and find spots and for your green paint and rub it around. You can do straight lines, circles, whatever you feel like. And it's just background information, so it's not too critical at this stage. But just make sure your brush is completely dry when you're doing this step, and try and have the left side of the canvas a little bit lighter than the right or the bottom. If you missed any spots on the first stage in the black canvas, you can always cover it up with this stage as well. And then we're going to be drawing the hand with the apple after this is completely dry. So for the next step, we will need your sharpened chalk, and then we're going to be doing a little sketch of the hand and the apple. Okay, see you on the next step. Okay, everyone, so once your canvas is dry, what we're going to do is take our chalk now, and I'm going to draw 4 dots. Okay, hopefully you're going to do this better than I did because I had to draw it double, but I'm going about a little less than halfway across the canvas, and then about 1/3 of the way down, and I'm making 4 dots there just to make a circle. It doesn't have to be perfect, or if you want, you could just make a freehand circle. Once I've done that, then I've decided that it's not quite big enough, so I'm adding another edge around that circle because this is our apple. So, I make mistakes too, so don't kid yourself. So, and then once we do that, I'm making a tiny little arc shape, and what we're doing is we're making a skeleton hand. So I've got 1 set of bones there, and then another set. This is the thumb that we're doing right now, and then it's going to attach to the wrist bones. And we're going right underneath that apple, and again, we're drawing the 1 piece, and then we're drawing another piece next to it, and these do not have to be perfect. Not at this stage of the game or ever. And then I'm drawing the little end of the finger there, the end of the finger bone there, and the end of the finger bone there that's going to come out the other side of the apple. Then I'm drawing the wrist bones as best as I can. I'm just a couple of different little shapes, a little round one on the end there, and then it's going to join right to the bone that goes off the canvas. And then I decided to make that a little bit bigger. But other than that, do your own. See you on the next step. So for this step, we're going to block in the base color for the apple. So I've used a little bit of fire red and black, and we are just going to be going over. I've got a filbert brush here that I'm using, but I really could have used a round, but I just happen to have that handy. So whatever brush you're comfortable with is fine to use. So we're just going to block in. Don't go in between the bones of the skeleton fingers, because we will be putting leaving that as shadow. So just up to the edge and to the edge of the apple is what we're looking for on this stage. So as best you can. And I do switch to a small round brush here shortly, because I'm finding that I couldn't get quite to where I wanted to go with this one. So any brush you're comfortable with though is fine. And just all the way to the white chalk on that apple. We will be changing the shape a little bit as we go, but for now, this is just the underpainting, so not too worried about it as of yet. On the next step, we will be doing the underpainting on the skeleton hand, so that should be fun. And so just do your apple, and then I will see you back here on the next step. So for this step, we're going to be blocking in the skeleton hand. So I have used a mixture of white, yellow, brown, and black, and just to make it a bit darker on the bones, because we're going to be adding quite a bit of highlight to those bones. So just follow along in the chalk lines. I'm using my small round brush here, and we're starting out with that darker base color so that we're able to block in the highlights after. So I'm just working on the thumb right now, and then I'm just going to move on and keep going on to the bones that come next. I don't know what they're called. I don't claim to know. I am changing the shape a little bit because I found that I wasn't, my lines were a little bit too straight. So I'm sort of making them into dog bone shapes now, I guess you could call it, just because I want them to look more like bones. And then we will be adding shadows in between in one of the following stages, but I think we're going to get the apple all finished up first in the next stage. So just follow this as best you can. Try and leave dark marks in between where the chalk is, and then that way we have an idea of where we're going with this hand. So I'm just basically carrying on with what I've got here, and then hopefully it'll look sort of like a skeleton hand by the time we're done. I've never done a skeleton hand. So in the back here, I am painting a little bit darker on the one area, and then I'm going to go in with the white over top there, because that's going to be the underside of the hand, and then the outside of the hand from the other side. And again, I'm going to do the same on the bone right there. We're going to go darker. I'm going to leave a little bit of a gap there, and then I'm going to go in with the white under there as well, just so it has a highlight and I can tell the difference of where I want to go here. So again, I'm changing the shape of that bone a little bit, going right to the edge of the chalk marks. And also, I should mention I did add a little bit more green to the bottom as well. I found I had a couple of marks on the bottom that I wanted to cover up. So now I'm going in with the white here at the top, just so we can distinguish that that the hand is actually 3D, but we will be adding more highlights as we go. And now I'm going under the apple. We will be also adding shadow under that apple so that it just doesn't look like it's, you know, hanging in the middle of nothing. So we will be adding shadow to that, but for now I'm just using that simple mixture of the brown, the yellow, the white, and the black. And I do make the finger, the second finger, a little bit bigger here as far as the nail is concerned, because I mean, after all, our middle finger is bigger. So I do make it a little taller after I finish that little finger there. If you happen to run into the apple, just wipe it off, but it's okay because we're going to be going over that apple again anyway. So there we go. We've got the hand all blocked in, and I'll see you on the next step. So for this step, we're going to be adding a little bit more color to the apple, a little more brightness, and also we're going to be adding a stem to the top of the apple. So with your straight red, and I'm using my round brush here, I just make a little dip at the top and a little arc, like a little happy face, just at the top of the apple there. And leave it dark in there because that's where we're going to be adding the stem. We're going to have a little highlight on the outside of the apple with a little bit of yellow, but for now we're just adding a second layer, a second coat on the apple. So just a little bit of highlight more to the right because that's where we're going to have the shiny spot on the apple there. So I'm just going in with that red, and I'm just filling that in, leaving that little gap there. And now I'm going to add a little yellow as well to that top, or to that side of the apple, just to make it look a little bit brighter on that side. I will be going over that again with the bright red on that side, but for now I like it this way. I like to do it in layers. I'll probably be putting white, or well, I will be putting white in there as well at some point, but for now I just sort of want to go in to the apple, and to add that little extra color in the apple there. I did sort of overwork this a little bit, I have to admit, you know, so sometimes that happens, but I did as best I could here. I added a little yellow, a few little specks on the apple there, which I end up covering up there because I didn't really like what I did. So happens all the time, but here I'm adding the little yellow to the top of the other side of the pit, and then we will be placing the stem inside that part of the apple as well. But for now here I'm going to add the white on the apple as the highlight, and then I'm going to go in again and cover that up with a little bit of red again, because I just want it to be very bright in that area, because that's where the sun is hitting that apple. So again, I'm going in with a little bit of lime green and a little bit of yellow mixed together, and then I'm just highlighting right underneath there where that stem is going to come out of the apple. And then again, going over with the red again, just to make it a little lighter over there as well. And we'll have that nice little shiny spot on the apple there by the time we're ready. I want to leave a little bit of a dark spot at the bottom of the apple, but for now I'm liking how this is happening. I am going to, it's just layer upon layer upon layer upon layer. So again, I'm going over it again with the red just to lighten it up again, and leaving that, just that little dark spot there, and again going in with the red and trying to blend it all in, make the bright spot happen over there, and getting as close to the bones as I can as well. So again, there's the red spot again, and I'm trying to mix everything all in together just to give that realistic feel. So here I'm going to go into my brown and my black, and I'm going to make the stem for the apple. And it's going to be probably, well, a little bit high up, you know, and then I've mixed the brown and black together and made that stem. And then I'm going to place a little white highlight on the right side of that stem, just with the same brush, just to make it come alive there a little bit. And I'll probably be going over that again, but for now, I think we're just going to leave that alone. Then I'm going back in again with the red and try and give this apple a 3D feel and make it look round, because it is round. And now I'm adding in a little bit more yellow again. And then I'm going to add another white spot at the top there as well. Just blending in a little bit of darkness and red, blending in the red with the dark toward the bottom. And then again, just adding a little more red. It's just layer after layer after layer. And, you know, it just gives it that lovely 3D effect. And then we will come in with all the highlights as well on that apple. But for now, I just want to give it that realistic feel. I might end up making that stem a little bit thicker, but I want to finish up the the fingers first. So just highlighting a bit at the top there, adding a little bit more yellow and then a little bit more red at the top, just so we can see that stem. A little more yellow in there again. And then I'm going to go in with the white and we're going to add that little shiny spot again. We're going to let it dry, and then I'm probably going to go in with that again. See you on the next step. So I'm just wiping off all our chalk marks now, and then we're going to work on the fingers. So you can dip your paper towel in some water, some clean water, and squish it out, and then just gently rub away all those chalk marks. I have laid out black, brown, yellow, and white, the same colors that we used on the bone before. But now we're just going to add in some shadows. We've got the base coat on the bones, but now I want to add in a few shadows on those bones. Also, I did add a little more to the stem of the apple. I just put in another little piece of brown, or a little low light of brown on the left-hand side of the stem. So here I'm going in now, and I am just going to add some shadows to the thumb and where I feel like the shadows might be hitting. And I've used a darker color than the original color, just because we want to be able to add a couple of different layers in here, which we're going to do on this step because this is the final step. So I really am not good at claiming what kind of bones are in the hand. I'm winging it here, but I did get the picture off of Pixabay. So if you guys want a reference photo, you can find this under Pixabay or at Pixabay, and you know, to have up as a reference photo. I'll try and put a photo of this in the description box of the finished piece on the video here, but we'll have to see. I'm not sure if I could do that. I haven't done that yet. So here I'm just adding the shadows again, and we're just going to continue to go through the wrist attachment as well as the hand underneath the apple where it's holding, and then I will progress onto the fingers as well. So again, just a little bit of a darker mixture, and I don't mix it all at once because sometimes we need, you know, a different tone. So, you know, I just see what comes up, and then that's what I go with. So it's just the way it is. I am adding a break in the finger there. I didn't have that on there before. So, and a little bit of shadow back there as well. The light will be coming in from the right hand side. So I'm you know, scruffing my brush around because, you know, these are not going to be perfectly straight. They're going to have little creaks and crannies in them and all that kind of stuff. So now I'm going in with the white, and I'm putting a little bit of highlight, or I'm making, I'm trying to blend in a little bit on the white with the bone, just to give it a little bit more dimension as well. So just where I think the shadows may be, or how the bone, or sorry, where the highlights may be and how the bone is sitting there. So I'm just doing that, and I'm going to do that with every single little bone. I am adding them a little closer together than original. We did have those darker marks in behind there when we took the chalk off, but I really do want it to look like, you know, that these bones are, you know, a little closer together as they would be in our actual hand. So I'm just using that little highlight there, the straight white, and going in and rubbing it around, using a little yellow there as well. This is not the final highlight. This is just a shadow, or, you know, another layer to our bones here. So again, going to that thumb, and or the end of the thumb there, and making that a little bit bigger as well. And then we're going to continue on to the base of the hand as well. I'm putting a little bit of a lighter area in there, just so that it looks like, you know, that there's a gap in there that's holding the apple. So again, doing that bottom bone there and in the inside of the hand. And then we're going to move on to the fingers here shortly. Underneath there. And, you know, just keep going in this fashion and rub it in, and, you know, let your hand be really loose and free here, because these bones, yes, they are structured, but they're also old. So, you know, they may have nooks and crannies in them and that kind of thing, and we can really get that effect. Here I am adding another bright spot to the apple, because I feel like the apple is almost complete. So I will be adding this bright spot, and then also going around with the red again around the outside edge. I'm back to the bones now on the hand. So I just wanted to get that white spot in there on the apple and let it dry, and then I'm going to fix that up as well. So again, the hands, there will be some light coming through there on the hand and the fingers, and then again on the bones there. And I'm just, again, it's just another added dimension to the bones. I mean, the bones are kind of white and yellow, so I'm sort of mixing up the colors there, but and the light might be peeking through the base there as well, and then just on that little fingertip over there. The other finger's hidden from view, so now I am going in again, and I'm still adding a little bit of the highlight. Rinse your brush off. I'm going to be pouring out some red here now, and a tiny bit, and I'm going to go back into that white spot and just add a little bit of red in here, and just highlight the base of the apple stem there a little bit, and make it a little redder around the edge of the apple. So, and then go right into that little white spot and fade that out a little bit, and make it a little bit more red, but I really want that white spot to show through. And then I'm getting in a little closer to the bones there, so it does look like there's a slight shadow under the bone that is holding the apple, and I really wanted to do that. Also adding a little more yellow up at the top where the stem comes out, and again putting a little bit of low light on the back, and then a little highlight on the front of the stem like that, just to make it look a little bit better, and again along the top of that apple. just so it looks like there's definitely a pit in there. And, you know, it's got to come out of somewhere. And again, I'm going around that spot, make it a little bit smaller, but I really do want that to sparkle for us. The base of the apple will be a little bit darker because, you know, it's being held in the hand and it's not getting quite as much light there. And then I'm going in now with the highlight on the bones, and I'm dipping in, and I'm using fairly thick paint here. And just to make it look like there is light shining through there. So you have to use fairly thick paint because it needs to be quite sparkly, or almost have that sparkly feel to it. So just at the tips there, or just sporadically here and there, just making it really stand out there where I feel like it needs it. And again, it adds another layer to those fingertips, or to the hand. So I'm definitely doing the fingertips there because the light will be hitting, and the light might be hitting somehow with those fingers as well on the inside, and then also on the out. And I'm also doing the bones underneath the hand now, the finger bones. And I'm adding in, you know, just wherever I think that light might shine. And then I'm really adding that little highlight on the apple. And now I'm going into the black, and I'm going to put low lights in here as well. And just to sharpen up the hand a little bit. And it just makes it look a little bit more finished. So I'm just sharpening at the base of the bones there and in between, just to make it all look a little bit more finished. So continue on, and you guys can pause the video at any time as well. You know, if you feel like you need a little bit more time, definitely, you know, feel free to do that. Just pause at any time, and that is quite all right. So here I'm just adding a few little lines as well in between, but I'm also adding a few little cracks into the hand here, or into the thumb as well. Just that little extra shadow in there, just as a finished part of the piece here. And again in here I'm adding a little line in there, just with the black, with the script liner brush. You want to dip it in the water first and make your black paint ink like, and then that way it flows off your brush a lot easier. And now I'm just going to go into the white here, and I'm going to sign my work, and I hope you guys sign yours. And thank you for joining me, and I hope you enjoyed this painting. Please do like and subscribe. Bye.